Trad men are being sassy online again, and I am forced to talk about it. I don't even want to, but I have to, because at some point, one of these men is going to add to your burdens. And my mission for not just this podcast, but for my entire public presence is to reduce the burdens of my amazing listeners. One of the nice things about not having a podcast that has 10 million listeners per month is I really feel like I genuinely know you guys. I have met a lot of you, and I like you, and I know what your struggles are. And those of you who say, if Jen and I lived next door to each other, we'd be friends. You're exactly right. I mean, if this is the kind of crazy you want in your life for an hour each week, I think, yes, we would be friends. Yes, absolutely. You are not wrong with that take. So I feel like I know you guys, and I feel like I can categorically say all of my podcast listeners are great people. And it's nice to enjoy this time, because when the comedy millions come in, and every episode of mine is getting multiple millions of views on YouTube just an hour after it's published. we're a little bit a ways from that right now. Then I won't be able to say that. I'll be like, well, some of you are probably horrible people. But right now, I feel like I know you guys. You're great people. And one of the things I really want to do is ease your burdens. It is very difficult to do what you are trying to do as a mother, or for my male listeners, as a father, as a single guy. We have young single men listening to this podcast. Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. But as someone who has a pro-village mentality, who understands what life is actually about, and you're trying to do the right thing, many of you are trying to be strong people of faith as well. It's a hard thing to do in this day and age. Every day you're swimming upstream. Every day you're fighting an uphill battle. Every day you have enough voices on the internet telling you that you are losing this battle and you're doing a terrible job. And really, the overarching mission of everything I do is to relieve those burdens for you. That is why when I see red-pilled podcast bro trad men mouthing off on the internet, and I know it is adding to your burdens, it really sets me off. I feel like they are my enemies. I feel like they are undoing the good work that I am out here trying to do. And for those of you critics who would say, Jen, maybe you are just bitter and jealous because all of these guys have like 100x your views on YouTube, to that, I would say, just because you're exactly right does not mean that I don't also have some good points against the podcast bro, red-pilled, trad man crowd. Now, let's define some terms. When I say trad man, I'm using the word trad because in my circles, when you are deep in the Catholic ghetto, that is a term that is familiar to my fellow citizens of the ghetto. Trad obviously comes from the word traditional. So these are guys who claim to adhere to a traditional form of Catholicism. They don't know a whole lot about it, but they feel very strongly about like their fantasies. Like they kind of write fanfic about what traditional Catholicism looks like. So that's those guys. That's where the term trad comes from. But I do have some listeners from outside of that world, and you see these guys. They're the red pill guys. Very similar set of opinions. The guys who are. Do they know the term red pill? Do you think, Caitlin?
I didn't even know the term.
You didn't know that term?
Not until just now. Well,
you've never heard the term red pill?
Nope.
Oh, well, okay. Well, then hang on. I mean, this is, well, 3-hour episode coming up. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay. I hear the term red pilled all the time. And I know that it's for like guys who think that Andrew Tate has it all figured out. Do we know who Andrew Tate is? Are we?
Oh, you've talked about him before.
You wouldn't have heard of Andrew Tate if I hadn't brought it up.
No.
Oh my gosh. What am I doing online that I know all this stuff? My whole life is like rap beefs and annoying men online. Like this is, okay. Wow. Well, okay. Well, we just need to do a whole one-on-one here. And I keep this podcast clean, so it's hard to describe Andrew Tate and that kind of crowd using clean language. Let me back up. Red-pilled guys, that's a reference to The Matrix, to the movie The Matrix. I think Morpheus is the guy's name. Mm-hmm. I've only seen it once and I wasn't really paying attention.
This one I know.
Oh, really? Okay, so Morpheus is the guy with glasses, the big, cool-looking guy with glasses, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, you can take a red pill and a green pill. Or what's the other pill?
Red pill or blue pill?
Blue? Is it? Okay,
yeah.
okay. So it's patriotic. There was a patriotic theme there. Red pill or blue pill. And then if you take the blue pill, what happens?
Oh,
is it like Viagra? That was clearly pre-Viagra, that reference. Like, oh, I took the blue pill. Well, now it's weird. Now this room is really awkward, Morpheus. Okay.
Oh my God.
How are we already off the rails? And I haven't even introduced the podcast. Okay, so I actually don't fully understand red pill culture either. All I know is this. Is that you, as a guy who's like, you're a red pill guy, you're saying that you would have taken the red pill, and is that where you see the truth? Is that?
I would.
Okay.
But...
I thought you said you knew. I thought Caitlin was
I
the
thought you asked
Matrix.
if I would do it. I was like, I don't think so.
Okay, I thought you said you knew. Okay, no, okay. So we have no idea. So the red pill is like, I guess it's like ayahuasca. You take it. And then you see the truth. So red pilled guys are so they're like, I have taken the red pill metaphorically, and now I talk about smoking cigars and drinking scotch online, and I'm an MMA fan. I actually don't know how we get from A to B on that. But the secular form of being a trad guy is being a red pilled guy. A lot of times they think Andrew Tate has some really good ideas. They also tend to be fans of Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson. And I'm not criticizing Joe and Jordan individually. Jordan Peterson's daughter she's an acquaintance of mine. I have been on her podcast. I'd like to go back on her podcast. I just want to be really clear. I have no problem with Jordan Peterson or any of his associates who might want to invite me back on their podcast. It's so funny. When the tangent alert hit the... on her, you can look this up. Look up Jen Fulwiler, Michaela Peterson. I was like, I'm an introvert. And she said, you're sitting here on my couch yelling at me. I don't think you're an introvert. So I think of that every time I tell people I'm an introvert. Evidently, I was yelling on Michaela Peterson's couch. I think everyone has a hard time imagining that. And it's like, I can't believe it. And then Joe Rogan owns the best comedy club in the world, which happens to be the best comedy club in my hometown. And I would like to spend more time there. So I would also like to say, I have no problem with Joe or the booker at his club who invites people to go up on stage. His name is Adam. No problem with Joe or any of his associates. There is a certain type of Rogan fan or Peterson fan that is they focus on female gender roles, and they say things like no man would ever date a woman who has kids, or there's a thing on TikTok where they're like, women have an expiration date, and there's a term for it. There's a term, and I forget the term, but it's like a downhill date or something, and it's something ridiculous. It's like, after you turn 26, men aren't interested in you. It's like, okay, Leonardo DiCaprio, no real men actually think that way. But here's why we have to address it, because you see that. So that's the secular version, is no man wants a woman older than 26 who doesn't have a body mass index of 19 or whatever. And then in the trad world, it's, a woman's place is washing the dishes, because that's what we fantasize that the early Christians did. That's our fanfic about what Christianity has historically been, is women were, washing dishes and vacuuming in the first century AD. And so we need to make sure that women are still in that place. So whether you are from the Catholic ghetto like I am, or you're from a different culture, you are going to run into these men at some point. I am going to paint with a broad brush and just call them all trad men. But just know, we're also talking about red-pilled men, just all those guys. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that all people who listen to Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or those guys. I'm not saying that they are all that way. I'm just trying to familiarize you guys with what type of person I am talking about, especially for those of you who are outside of the Catholic ghetto. So I am going to help you combat these silly ideas, because even if you haven't run into them just yet, you will at some point. And especially if you are female, these guys are going to add to your burdens. They are going to make you feel like you are less than. And I am here to deal with all of that for you. As usual, we get to the main topic in the second half of the show, sometimes very late into the second half, but we always get to it. And this is the Jen Fulwiler Show, coming to you from Austin, Texas. I am your host, Jen. I am a best-selling author, stand-up comic, and mom of 6. I had 6 babies in 8 years. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. This is also the podcast where you realize you are not failing nearly as much as you think you are. It's just hard to live the life that you're trying to live without a village. We publish new episodes every Wednesday morning, and my lovely producer here is Caitlin White. There is a link in the show notes of how you can get consulting work from her for video editing and other good stuff like that. We also spend a lot of time on the Patreon, and an update. So if you haven't listened in a few episodes, I have finally found the best possible use of Patreon for me. And that is using it to talk trash about all the things I want to say, but I can't have them out available for a Google search. I can't have them out on the internet. That is like what I'm doing on Patreon now. And I mean, I'm still doing the bonus content. Like after each episode, we do what we call the after party, where I hang out for some additional time and I keep talking on that topic. And then on the Village Hustle Patreon, which is the higher tier, I'm your life coach. I'm not the life coach you want. I'm not the life coach you need, but I'm the life coach you got on the Village Hustle Patreon. So we still do that. But then I am also doing these spontaneous lives that I call State of the Dumpster Fire, where I talk trash about everything that I can't say publicly. And in the one that I just did, it was last week, Thursday? I shared some good news for once. Good drama. It was drama, but it was good drama. And for those of you who are asking for an update, I do not have any further news yet. That is to be expected. These things often take multiple months. So no update. You did not miss anything. I will let you guys know if I hear anything. And of course, you can jump on the Patreon anytime. When you join, you get full access to all the archives, all of that. That is patreon.com/thisisjen, patreon.com/thisisjen. And that link is also in the show notes. And I will keep you guys posted on the news, the good news that I shared from last week. Don't forget that I am on tour. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Toledo, Phoenix, St. Louis, Indy, Chicago, Kansas City, Omaha, and Des Moines. I am coming your way. I've never been so thrilled about a tour. Listen to the previous episodes from the past month or so if you would like to know why. And Caitlin, play our fabulous tour jingle, the best tour jingle that any comedian has ever had.
She was dropped by her agent and manager on the same day. Iconic. Now she's entered her villain era, and she's back on tour anyway. Jen Fulwiler. Yeah, let's go that dropped. Jen Fulwiler. But she just can't be stopped. Jen Fulwiler. This tour is gonna pop. Takes that jfcomedytour.com. jfcomedytour.com.
That's right. jfcomedytour.com is where you get your tour tickets. And you can also sign up for my email list there if you would like to be the first to know when I come to your city. Obviously, we will be adding cities, and you will be the first to know if you get on my amazing email list. That is also at jfcomedytour.com. So let us begin. Before I explain trad men and what is wrong with them to you, let us begin with this is kind of building on what I was talking about in the previous episode, in episode 222. I was saying, I made a passing comment that I have continued to ponder. My passing comment was this. So I said that I have had to mute quite a few people, women, on social media because of the virtue signaling, the we have it all figured out, kind of post. It destroys my peace and I can't do it. But I am not categorically opposed to people showing the beautiful side of life, the orderly side of life. And so I thought, well, where do I draw the line? Why is it that some people remind me every day the absolute just bottom of the Pacific Ocean depths to which I am failing compared to them, but it doesn't bother me. I actually really support what they're doing. I always use her as an example, which is probably getting weird at this point, but Anna from In Honor of Design, if you look up In Honor of Design on Instagram, her calling is very much to show the beauty of life. They're decorating their beautiful home, and she and her husband are dancing in the living room with their young children dancing with them, and the living room is perfectly decorated because that's the way she got it. Their house is literally something out of a Hallmark card. And then, get this, guys, she has a village on top of everything else. It'll be my 5 sisters and 2 brothers came over today, and all the cousins were playing together, and they brought food. And you don't know how trash your life is until you look at that account. You are failing personally. God has failed you in the life setup that he handed you. You don't know how bad it is until you follow her account. But I love it. I love her updates. And she's got some magic there that I can genuinely be I suck as a human being. I am failing by every metric I am seeing in these videos, and by a lot, it's not close, but I am so happy that she is posting this. And I am genuinely happy that at least some children get to live a joyful, beautiful life, and, in a house. It's not mine, but, I'm glad that someone is experiencing this. It's amazing. So I have been pondering why does that genuinely bring me joy and make me happy? Whereas there are some other accounts that are maybe even less perfect on the surface, but I've had to mute them so fast. And I think it is about, here's what I think it is. The accounts that drive me crazy are the ones, and by this beyond accounts, just even in-person personalities. The people who say, here's my perfect life. And the reason my life is so perfect is because I am following the tenets of this one worldview perfectly. And you guys are not. And so, and it's even beyond the religious world. You probably see this in the vegan world. They can't just post a picture of them going for a run. It's I ran 10 miles today because I perfectly follow the vegan lifestyle, unlike some of you guys. That is what is annoying, when people act like they are following the rules perfectly, and that is what is leading them to have this beautiful life, because there's sort of the implication that you could be doing this too if you weren't such a failure at following the rules, rather than the people who just own look, this is just who I am. I am good at keeping my house beautiful. I am good at dancing with my husband and having joyful children. I'm just good at it, guys. And I'm not trying to tell anyone else what they should be doing. This is just the nice side of life for us. So let's put a pin in that for a second, because I'm going to circle back to this concept of people who brag about following the rules and who are actually kind of obsessed with the rules, whether it's the rules of their diet, the rules of their religion, whatever. This actually connects to the main topic that we will get into much later in the show, because this podcast it's like a tapestry. It is a woven tapestry of perfection. I bring up one topic, and then we bounce over to a related topic, but we come back and we pick up that thread that initially started the first topic. It's hit the "how is this podcast free" sound effect. We can't figure it out. We have our best men. We have our best men yes. researching this. We cannot figure it out. Okay, so let us begin. But so my new Instagram social media fixation is a woman named Melanie. She is a mom of 9. Her handle is Raising Cades, CADES 10. What's funny is she has 9 kids, and I am guessing that she chose Raising Cades 10 like when she only had 8 kids, because then family of 10, but you got to be fast. Like when you breed recklessly, like the Fulwilers do, you got to, the number of kids is ever changing. It's a shame that I didn't have this podcast while I was having 6 babies in 8 years, because people, they were so annoyed with us. I mean, I'd be like, I have big news. And they're like, you're pregnant. I'd be like, how did you know? What? How did you know? And it was funny. People would be like, oh, so you've got 3 kids. I was like, actually, we have 5 now. And they're like, wait, it's only been 2 years since we caught up. Like, yeah, I know. So I smile when I see Raising Cade's 10. I'm like, I bet you anything she chose that when she had 8 kids. And then, oh, now we have 9. Okay, so Raising Cade's. I just want to watch a couple of these videos with you because they're so enchanting to me. I love them so much. And this one I'm just bringing up. So Melanie is one of these perfect moms with a perfect life, but I love her. She is inspiring to me. I enjoy realizing how much I fail just to behold her content and see how much she and her 9 kids are winning at life. But here's the big thing. It's a little bit apropos of nothing, but you guys just have to know this. If you want to know what kind of a galaxy brain genius Melanie is, she has a permanent salad bar in her home that it has built-in refrigeration. So all she does when it's time for dinner is she opens each one of the little containers, just like at Whole Foods or whatever, when you have a salad bar. And then when people are done eating, she just puts the lid back on. I want a do-over on my children's entire childhood with a built-in refrigerated salad bar. I also need a lot of Melanie's money. So in my do-over life with my children, I do need like a few $100,000 extra dollars to put at these systems. Look, just watch this video. So JF on youtube.com, you can see it, but I think the audio is still pretty good for the 99% of you who insist on just listening on audio. I think you'll get a feel for it.
Ooh, child, we were all the way in New Orleans, baby, 6 hours away from home, when this lady rolls down her window at the gas station and says, hey, tell me about your salad bar. And since all 5 million of you all are just like the lady at the gas station, wanting to know more about my salad bar, I'm going to go ahead and tell you before y'all start peeping through my windows.
That's
hey
me.
There, beautiful people. So our salad bar is stocked every week with fruits, vegetables, you name it. This time I air fried some Brussels sprouts with some bacon. I boiled and peeled some eggs. My children ate about half of them already. I sliced a whole turkey breast that I got from Costco. Fresh peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, mushroom. I washed my lettuce, and then placed a paper towel down at the bottom of the container so as to absorb that moisture, keeping my lettuce fresh. Chopped up some fresh broccoli. One of the major questions I get is how often I keep this stocked and how long it lasts. I'll stock it once or twice a week, depending on how busy we are and how often we're eating from it. The top and bottom are refrigerated. I have a container in the bottom that holds bagels and cream cheese, just sandwich stuff. I have another container with fresh fruits, apples, pears, oranges, avocado. I wash my berries and put a paper towel at the bottom of a mason jar, seal those berries in those mason jars, and they last until my children eat them all. I've got another jar with bacon bits, another jar that says jalapeno slices, but that's not what it is. It's marinated mozzarella. I keep cold plates in there.
Surprise.
I've got a basket with all of our dressings and dips. I also keep some juice in there for my kids to grab. Yes, I let my children drink juice.
Okay, I feel like I would not have problems if I just had this salad bar in my house. I feel like this would solve 80% of my stress. Are you, Caitlin, you're a mom. You have 4 children. Mm-hmm. Are you as amazed by this as I am?
I am amazed, but I'm also amazed at how she keeps it all nice and tidy, because we would definitely not.
Well, you're right. You're right. Very quickly, my aesthetic cute salad bar, very quickly, it would have the vibe of homeless people rummaging through a dumpster. Half of the food would be rotted. It would be so much that vibe. Like people would be, getting in scuffles and throwing food at each other, and they would open one lid on the salad bar and be like, oh, what is that? Like something just growled at me like, oh, that was the broccoli from 3 months ago. I knew, that is a great point. Let's watch the end of the video. Maybe this is where her staff comes in and changes it all out.
Oh no. Anyway, I just stock it once a week with seasonal fruits and vegetables or whatever I can find on sale. Long before we invested in this salad bar, we used to have a salad bar in our refrigerator. It was the same concept, just on a smaller scale. Because having fresh chopped fruits and vegetables readily available, A, gives us a quick meal option because the salad bar is always stocked and open. And B, my children are more likely to choose fresh produce if it's already prepped and ready to eat. If you are looking for containers to make an in-refrigerator salad bar, or if you'd like a standalone unit similar to ours, I have both in my Amazon storefront.
Wow.
The link is in my bio. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
All
Bye.
right. Yeah. I the level at which I lose is breathtaking. But I want to say that she says her children are more likely to eat fresh vegetables and fruits if they're chopped and washed. I guess that's true, but in the case of my children, that would take the likelihood from 0.01% to 0.02%. I mean, I guess, listen, I could have, I mean, with my children and this like healthy eating, with some of them are not like this, but with quite a few of my children, SpongeBob SquarePants himself could materialize from the ether and present on a silver platter an array of freshly washed fruits and vegetables, and my children would not eat it. And I know that people will say, like, well, if you don't give them other options, they'll eat it. That's not true. They still won't. My children have found a way to survive on air. I don't know how they do it. I have tried. I've tried getting that, like, well, this is what I cooked, so you guys are not eating anything else. And then they're like, okay, I won't eat anything else. And when they're little, like when they're younger than 5, one of the issues you have is that your sanity as a parent depends on these kids sleeping. It depends on them sleeping. And if they didn't get enough to eat because they wouldn't eat your healthful meal that you made, and you're like, well, this is dinner. There is food in front of you. And if you don't eat it, that's not my problem. Ha ha! It is your problem. It is your problem when they can't sleep because they're hungry. And you get about 5 minutes into a kid who has been crazy and destroying your house all day, kicking and screaming because they're hungry and they won't sleep. You will have double fried, deep fried Cheez-Its on a tray for them so fast. Because it's more than just about food. It's about, like, you need them to rest and to sleep. And you will throw in the towel so fast, especially if you have more than one young child. I don't know. Maybe if I had just had one, maybe I could have fought that battle, but let's be real, probably not. I probably would have thrown in the towel. But you got a couple of toddlers and you're just like, listen, this is what I'm serving for dinner. This is what, and you're not getting anything else. If you don't eat this broccoli with the steamed chicken with a bit of oregano on it and these apple slices, this is what I made. This is what I made, and you're not getting anything else. And then 2 minutes into them crying that they're hungry, they're like, here's the pizza, here's the cheese pizza. I don't care anymore. With ranch, yes, sir, absolutely, yes, absolutely. So much easier said than done. And then there's a second issue that we will get to when we watch Caitlin. You'll be so thrilled. I have an ASMR fridge restock. This is from _Hyeks, Hyeks. I think this one is from TikTok. So she's doing a fridge restock. And again, these videos I'm showing you, these are in the category of, I love these. These are not the people that I need to mute. I think that these people are great. And I think it is good for me to know how much I suck. I think this is very helpful for me to see this. Okay, so play that from the Hyeks. Wait, pause. I'm sorry, we're 2 seconds in. We're already pausing. Okay, so for those of you listening on audio, she has these mini. It's almost like a Stanley mug, but it's the size of a shot glass. It's maybe just 1 ounce bigger than a shot glass. And if anyone has a background anything like mine, they're like, okay, shot glass. Yes, immediately. Yes. I know. Yeah, okay. I'm tracking, Jen.
We got one.
So what, shot glass?
Yeah, a little mini cup, what she's got.
Wait, who does? You do?
We do.
What do you use it for?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, Caitlin's like, you shot glass. I mean, like, that's where I put my vodka. Yeah. So, but she has like 6. And so this is the big thing among the influencers now is they fill up a little, like a protein shot or something. And they put it in, and it's a little tiny cup. Again, a little bit bigger than a shot glass, but not much. And then they have a little tiny mini straw in it. And they have a special container just for their 6 little mini shots in the fridge. Everything within me wants to be that person. I'll burn down my whole life and personality just to have a chance of being the mini cup with a straw in it person. Now, if I tried to do this, as Caitlin rightfully pointed out with the salad bar, these would be cups of mold. These would be scientific experiments like, well, now we can't get the lid off because no one had the little cute shot. That it's now it's just a pulsating blob of mold. Or the other thing is these lids don't look that tight. It would knock over in the fridge. I wouldn't deal with it because I wouldn't notice it. And then they'd all be stuck on there. So someone tries to get their little mini cup out, and then the whole stupid thing comes in. It's like all crashing down, and it's moldy. I mean, I can't tell you how much I want to be the person who is so on top of life that I am regularly restocking my mini tiny cups and their mini tiny straws. Okay, so since this is just ASMR, I forgot she's not narrating. I will narrate. So Caitlin, keep the volume slightly lower on this clip so that I can provide my astute narration over it.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, now these are, okay, the juice boxes. And then these, okay, the eggs can't stay in the carton. No way. Got to get those out. Oh, she just hung some drinks on the side. All of the deli meat is coming out of the package and into individualized deli meat containers. So, and then we're stacking. I just want to say earlier too, there was a special slider on the side just for the yogurt. Now we're putting greens, not in the box they came in, but in a box that looks identical that goes in the fridge. Okay, now we're putting fruits and veggies in drawers. More yogurt, lots of yogurt in this. And now Go-Gurt. Okay, apples. And I don't think you're supposed to refrigerate all this stuff, but what do I know? Lord, I know nothing. What is that?
That's a lot of butter.
Is that butter?
Yeah.
Oh, I approve. Okay, now we're putting... Oh! I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell, but she got... Whoa.
Hold up, these are some life tips here.
Yeah, no, wait a minute. Oh, and I forgot, the title is that this is her kids' fridge. She has a special fridge just for the kids, which also genius.
Yeah.
We got salad bars, we got special fridges just for the kids. Okay, so yeah, she has containers with water in them, and she puts her herbs and her carrots and her whatever celery in these water containers in the fridge. Do you have any idea how on top of life you have to be to have this going on? I'm so amazed. I'm so amazed by all of this, and it's some of us just can't do it, you know. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. There's a great blue flame connection here that these women, this is their blue flame, is being on top of physical items in their home. This is they spend a fair amount of time and energy on this. And I know a couple women who are like this, and they will say it is soothing to them. It makes them feel safe, and it makes them feel okay about life, and it makes them feel like they're doing something really positive and good to use this blue flame of theirs. And some of us could not do that if our lives depended on it. Our brains do not work that way, and we need to find other areas in which we excel in the domestic arts, in which we excel at motherhood, because we lose on that account. But I guarantee you, there are things that you and I are good at that these women are not good at. Mm-hmm. Probably.
Sure.
I mean, their kids look like they're doing really well. Like they're raising Cade's women. Like her kids are thriving in college and like everyone's doing well academically. All right, they're just better than us. They're just better than us. But again, like it doesn't bother me. And in fact, it's really encouraging to me to see these women thriving at what they do. It's like watching the NFL. It's like watching a sport. It's, something that, I get exhausted just doing my makeup. That's kind of a workout for me. I have to sit down. That's a little bit too much exertion for me. But I love watching pro athletes and people who do these extreme things like David Goggins, like running 12 miles on a broken foot. It's because I am impressed that they are doing these amazing things that I would die 5 minutes into that activity. And it's the same with running marathons or organizing a fridge with little tiny cups with straws in it. Like the level at which I couldn't do it is honestly crazy. It honestly shocks the mind how difficult that would be for me. But could Raising Cade's, could the Hayeks, could she talk trash about trad men on a podcast? I bet she couldn't. And this is the life skill that people need. I'm winning in podcasting, okay? My podcast and my 5 YouTube viewers and the $2 that I make per month on this are my contribution to the world. And I don't need, a house that's like not a mess all the time. Because I'm a podcaster and if my children are like, well, what value are you adding to our home? It's like, well, why don't you pull up my podcast? I know that you guys are not, because it only got 5 likes on the last one and I have 6 kids. So tell me how that number adds up. You guys better get back to liking and sharing mommy's content immediately. Now here's where we get into the tapestry of this podcast. Hit the tapestry sound effect. So I said earlier that the people that I have to mute on social media are the ones that claim that they're just following the rules better than the rest of us. And they have these weirdo rules that they put on themselves, and they want to put it in everyone's face that they are following these rules. That is where, and they're also into and my kids love following the rules. And so you see this a lot in the religious world. It'll be like, I'm following certain rules that I just kind of made up about what good Catholics supposedly do. Now, is this, only chronically online kind of weird American Catholics do this? You don't see this in the worldwide church, but we're going to pretend that this is this is binding on all Catholics. And I follow all these rules. And that is why my children are so perfect. And that's why my house is so perfect. And that's why we're living in harmony, because we're just checking all the right boxes. Those are the accounts that I have to mute. Now, here's where we transition into the main topic. I think there is something that is very important to understand when you are looking at any kind of lifestyle influencer. You see this a lot in the Catholic ghetto, but you see it in really any world, in the diet world, in the athletics world, in the motivational speaker world, certainly among the red-pilled alpha male guys. You see this quite a bit. Is that when people need to live out their moral code and their worldview by checking boxes, by following rules very strictly, I think that is always the result of trauma. And my qualifications to say this are that I have a podcast and I read The Body Keeps the Score. So I think that I am very qualified to diagnose people with trauma. I also read a bunch of books like The Body Keeps the Score. So I think that I can diagnose an entire generation of people based on my vast knowledge. But would you just listen, because I think there's something to this. This is based on a lot of experience of watching other people, but also something that I've seen in myself. So when you have a certain view of what is right and true about the world, about your identity, about other people's identity, and you want to put forth this worldview and live it out in your own life. For people who have natural, free-flowing, like just organic, naturally connected relationships, whether it's with other people or with God, you will find that they do believe that rules exist for the parameters of these relationships, but the rules are not the first thing that they need to turn to in order to manage these relationships. I lost everyone. I know it. I hear it. I lost everyone. Okay. Let me come at this from a different angle. I will summarize what I just said by saying, when people are obsessed with checking boxes in any kind of relationship, whether it's their relationship with God or their relationship with their spouse or their relationship with homemaking, when they are obsessed with following certain rules, like I sweep my floor every day, therefore I am a good mother. I wear this particular type of outfit to mass, therefore I am a good Catholic. Like, whoo, check that box, done. Thank God. I know that this is taken care of. Or I do, I roll out a red carpet for my husband every day when he comes home. Therefore, I am a good wife. Check that box. Whenever people need to turn to box checking behavior instead of a more collaborative relationship based approach in which you put the relationship and a collaborative experience first, I think it's always because of trauma, because they have learned the hard way that they cannot trust people. And I think that is what irritates me about all the people I have muted, is that they very much posit this box checking worldview. Like you'll see, again, this is another Catholic ghetto reference, but it'll be like, I only wear skirts ever, and that is why I have a good marriage. And my children see me as a good mother and a feminine woman because I am checking this box. This is a box that everyone needs to check, and I am checking it. And all of you guys who suck, the reason you suck is because you are not checking the same boxes that I am. That can really drag people down. And I would also say, again, that is trauma-based behavior, that you feel like you have to do this very specific, narrow set of things in order to be right with whoever, in order to be right with God, in order to be right with your husband. Now, I am going to pause and let's just get directly into how this relates, how what I just said relates to trad men. And again, if you missed the setup at the very beginning of the show, when I say trad men, I'm speaking broadly about just any men who they're very invested in putting women and women's value and women's behavior in boxes. That is a big area of interest to them. Also, what it means to be a masculine man is a big area of childlike curiosity for them. And so again, you see this among what we in the Catholic ghetto would call trad, quote unquote, men. And then you see it, the red-pilled men, the Andrew Tate fans, the alpha men, the guys on the alpha forums. All of these, I'm using the term trad man, broadly defined here. And what's interesting is I think there is one thing that is at the root of all of this crazy behavior from these kind of men. Because so think about this. Have you ever noticed that men who say that women are not funny, categorically, women are never funny, they always have the same set of opinions that go with that. They're overly focused on traditional gender roles. They hate body positivity, right? I mean, like, you've never heard a man say, women are never funny. By the way, I love what Lizzo is doing for the culture. Never. These opinions always go hand in hand because the common thread there is that they can't be emotionally intimate with women. That's what's at the core of all of this, because in order to laugh with a woman, in order to be intimate with a woman physically, if her body fluctuates and looks imperfect at different times, in order to work out gender roles and housework in just kind of a natural, organic way, you first have to be able to have emotional intimacy with women. And that's why these guys who, due to their own trauma, they can't be emotionally intimate with women. They always have that same collection of opinions. And they're kind of casting about to try to figure out what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. Like, because of their own trauma, they just don't have a natural sense of what that is. And that's fine. Look, we all have trauma. We all have, we say and do crazy things based on things in our past. I just wish they would stop making it everyone else's problem and stop adding to women's burdens with their horrible takes. What actually occasioned this is that there has been an uptick of trad men being sassy on the internet.
That just sounds funny.
The funniest thing about trad men being sassy on the internet is that it is such a feminine thing to do. Yeah. That is so girly to be like, oh, I said something crazy on the internet and now everyone's paying attention to me because I'm such an alpha man. And you want to be like, okay, girl. Like, I don't think so. That is not, you are not being the alpha man you think you are. And so there, because of the difficult things in their own past, they think that by checking certain boxes of masculinity, that will make them masculine. And so again, this is why I pointed out that I think box checking behavior, the overly rule following behavior, is usually due to some sort of, you have some kind of psychological issue going on there. And it's interesting too how a lot of these online trad guys, they do have the natural masculine urge to gather other men and collaborate with them and share information and worldview with them, but it's in this kind of wonky, like, online only way. Whereas when you know men who are, they're just guys, they're traditionally masculine men in like the just a real traditional, like, true, just good, solid, wonderful masculine man sense of the word. They do that in the real world. And I would say one of the hallmarks of real masculinity is collaborating with other men in a very physical, in a self-sacrificial way, doing hard, difficult work that puts you in physical peril for the good of others in collaboration with other men. I know that was a mouthful, but think about it. When you think about good men, like if you had any grandfathers or great grandfathers who fought in World War II, or, just like good men, good, honest, hardworking men, they enjoyed time with their wives and they liked their kids, and just good dudes, who when it came time to stand up for their families or to stand up for their country, they were there and they were doing it. Like, I know I keep saying this term, but like good, solid men. You see them, not being chronically online, first of all, not seeking attention in like virtual forums, like, oh, everyone's like, I'm getting a lot of likes to my tweet today, but rather doing very physical and very difficult things for the good of others. I think I often think of an example of just being like just masculine in the best sense of the word is Caitlin and I have a mutual friend, our neighbor, this guy Mike, who sometimes listens to my podcast. So surprise, Mike, you're getting dragged into this too. I'm ruining everyone's life with this podcast. Okay, people are going to find you and dox you like, we hate Mike because Jen said he's like against what the podcast bros are into. So I think this is, there's all this debate out there of like, what does it mean to be like a real man but not toxic masculinity? Like, guys, it's not hard. Like, just follow around my neighbor Mike for 24 hours.
Yeah.
He's, first of all, a hardworking man. He has a physically difficult job. He is out in the sun working a physically difficult job. And then he enjoys hosting. He and his wife have people over all the time. Every weekend, there's like, you can go watch the NFL with them. They got all the games, and they realized that it would be a blessing to their community, and it would be a blessing to his wife if they had a grand, beautiful back deck. But they're not billionaires. They're not gazillionaires. My neighbor Mike built the most incredible deck you have ever seen. Better Homes and Garden could show up right now and do a photo shoot. You wouldn't believe it. If I showed you pictures of his back deck, you would never believe that this man and the neighborhood men and his brothers and some of his friends built this all 100% themselves. And so you see a couple things about traditional masculinity there. First of all, he gathered other men in a collaborative way. It was really amazing. Caitlin saw this too. The neighborhood dads, it was like the monolith in 2001, A Space Odyssey, that you can almost hear the dun, 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 like all the neighborhood men, like, what is he doing? I see.
Should we help?
Yeah. I see big, like all of this construction equipment is being delivered, and they'd all like kind of walk around it like, what is this? And they'd pick it up like, that's a big board. What is he doing with it? All of the neighborhood guys like descended on it, and then they would bring over their own tools, and they'd be like, listen, you think you got a drill over there? No, this is a drill, bro. Like, listen, let me tell you, this is how you drill in. And there would be all of these debates about like, well, what's the best way to dig in? This is solid rock here that we have to attach the wall to. This was, first of all, dangerous work. I mean, any one of them could have lost a finger. It's a 2-story deck. They could have fallen off the second story. So again, traditionally masculine things, you see them physically putting themselves in harm's way to do this beautiful thing, which is to give our neighborhood a space to gather and collaborate that is safe, that our kids can run around. And frankly, Mike's wife loved to have a back deck. She thought it would be cool. And so he's doing this difficult thing for his wife and for the community, and it gathered all of these men, and I'd just be sitting on my back porch. Like, there's some traditional gender roles for you. I'm into that. I'm like, I'm going to be a woman and sit here on the porch and watch these men sweat in the insane heat while they put together this deck. Very traditional masculine behavior. You know what he didn't have time to do? Be sassy on the internet. He did not have time for that because he was too busy collaborating with other men in a very physical, self-sacrificial way for the good of his community. And so there is something that is traditionally masculine about that. We do believe that there are differences between the genders. Like, men do tend to do certain things when they are being their highest and best selves that women don't do as much. And society is better when women have certain general types of behavior broadly defined, and men have certain types of behavior broadly defined. But notice how there's no box checking there. It's not like, he didn't tell his wife, like, you go get in the kitchen and I am going to get this drill and then take a picture of myself with it for the internet so I can talk about how I'm a red-pilled alpha man. No, it's a natural, organic thing that he and his wife worked out together of what their roles are in their house and how they make everything work. Same thing with my husband and I. I've told you before, my husband was raised by a single mother, had a great relationship with her. They were very close. And so it has been a very easy, organic process for us to figure out how to, this is going to sound so cheesy, but like, honor his masculine side, honor my feminine side, but not in a weird, trad, red-pilled weirdo way. Because we're trying not to do this without like a bunch of trauma where we, make people check boxes. It's just, I can't explain it. We just figured it out in a natural, organic way. Here's an analogy that I think will help you guys track with my rambling here. No, it's not. This is actually a very prepped podcast. I would never ramble because that would waste your time. One of the core values of this podcast, I do not waste your time. With my my somewhat complicated thoughts on the matter. Here's an analogy. Hit the analogy that's going to make it all make sense button. Okay. Here's what you need to know about trad men. Trad men are not that into women. That is what you need to know about them. They, because of their own trauma, they cannot be emotionally intimate with women. They don't naturally gravitate to women. They don't understand women. And I think they're a little bit afraid of women. Again, that is why you see the same collection of opinions. They hate body positivity, want a lot of rules on women about gender roles, very much objectify them when it comes to dating. Like if you're on your 26th birthday, the unattractive fairy comes and visits you, and then now none of us red-pilled alpha men will be interested in you. And like if you have a kid, we'd never date you. You know, all that into rules. And again, they very often also say they cannot find women funny, and they think that's like an alpha flex, but it is actually revealing that they are not able to be emotionally intimate with women due to, you know, whatever like scars they have. So here's an analogy that will show you how trauma manifests itself in box checking type behavior, specifically as it relates to trad men. Okay, so when people without trauma get married, on both sides, but let's take it from the man's perspective here. The man is thinking like, man, I like women. This is fun. I cannot wait to, make this happen. And I enjoy my wife's company. We laugh together. We watch the same shows together. We have a good time together. And I would say another thing about non-trauma traditional masculine men is they like the idea of building with women. They're like, I want to build something with this woman. Let's build a family or build a business or just build a fun life. Like this is fun and I cannot wait. And so, yes, there will be things that need to be worked out. Like, okay, well now real life is hitting us. We got bills to pay. Now we have these kids, and these kids need certain things from their mothers. They need certain things from their fathers. And the human experience is such that we never have enough money. We never have enough time. That's just life. So let's just like collaborate and figure it out together who is going to do what to make it all work. And it'll flux and it'll change. And we're just going to keep on a minute to minute, moment to moment basis, working this out together in kind of a fun, natural flowing way. So that's like the normal traditional masculine in a positive way. That's the way a normal guy sees it. Okay. So trad men coming from trauma, here's the analogy. It would be like if you just had to, for some reason, have a king cobra snake in your house. You don't really understand why people do this, but it is the socially acceptable thing to do. You will be seen as a little weird if you don't have one of these in your house. And you're just like forever. You're just going to have to have this snake in your house. Do you see how you wouldn't think like, I'm just going to figure it out with the snake? The snake and I will figure out. The snake can like kind of do whatever it wants, and I'll do what I want, but the snake and I will work together to make sure that, we have that everything works, that we can collaborate together. No. If you had a king cobra snake in your house, do you know how many rules you would have for that snake? It would be like, okay, how many hours a day can I put this in the cage? Like, can it be in the cage like all the time? Okay. And the snake can come out 1 hour a day. And it's bad if the snake is out of the cage more than 1 hour a day, because that's like really going to stress me out, because you never know what these snakes are going to do. You just literally never know. And we just need to I just need to have a lot of rules for the snake's behavior, because they are unpredictable and they are dangerous. Frankly, I don't know why anyone even messes with these things, but I have to bring this into my life because that's what everybody does. So we need a lot of rules. We need a lot of rules with this snake. That is literally, that is the same impetus for why trad men always have to mouth off about women's gender roles. They're not that into women, and they're a little bit afraid of women. And so they need those very strict structures to manage the unpredictability that they're so afraid of. Because there is not that emotional intimacy there. You don't have that natural, organic flow of discussion and problem solving that you have in healthy relationships. Another analogy, hit the bonus analogy button. Hit the button for like, how do we have so many hot fire analogies on this podcast? If you're still listening, I'm amazed by it, honestly, like it's incredible. Okay, so I'm going to analogize here two different types of dog owners. So let's say you love dogs. You've always loved dogs, and you get this one dog that is amazing, like sent to you by God. This is just like everything you've wanted in a dog. You always love dogs, but this is a good dog, and you're pretty psyched about it. I'm thinking of Caitlin's dog.
Yeah.
Caitlin has a dog named Bridget, and Joe keeps asking me, he's like, hey, is Bridget coming over this weekend? I'm like, do you mean Caitlin? And he's like, well, I mean, is there like, if she just wants to drop Bridget off, that's fine too. Joe, seriously, he wants to invent an Uber for dogs so that Caitlin can Uber her dog over for Joe to borrow. So let's say you have a dog like Caitlin's, just a great dog. Now, you do believe that there are some rules to your relationship with your dog. And this is the reason I'm giving this analogy, is I want to make it clear. I don't believe that there are no rules for relationships and for men and women and for faith, because that is another extreme you can go to that is also stupid. Like in faith, when people are like, God is whatever you want her to be. Like, okay, well, that's stupid on another side of the spectrum. That's the exact opposite of box checking. Also insane. So yes, I mean, we all have rules of engagement. So Caitlin, with her awesome dog, Caitlin knows there are rules for how you properly treat a pet. And again, if you're a dog person, you get a dog that you love, you know there are rules. And if someone asks you, you could probably lay them out. Like, yeah, you don't leave your dog in the crate for too long. And how many times a week should you walk your dog? Well, it's, this number, that number, whatever. And what should you feed your dog? How often should you bathe your dog? Whatever. So you might have some ideas. Yes, there are rules. You cannot just do whatever you want with a dog. Like anything goes. I'll go out of town for a week and just leave the bag of food open and the dog will be fine. You can't do that. We all know there are rules. But when you like dogs and you enjoy being around them and you're not afraid of them and you don't have very deep trauma surrounding them, the rules don't come first. You don't have a rules first way of dealing with that dog. The rules are kind of in the back of your mind, but the main interaction that you have on a daily basis is kind of just a collaboration with this dog. You're getting to know the dog's getting to know you, and there is kind of a dog owner intimacy there that you get. You guys understand each other, and it just kind of all works out. And you don't have to be on Twitter like, as a good dog owner, I walk my dog 1.2 times per day because that's what good dog owners do. Like, you don't have to be this rules first box checking person because it just flows. There is a natural relationship where the rules can kind of fade into the background. Now, let's say you had a bad experience with dogs. You hate dogs. You just like, you don't trust them. There's a lot of trauma in your life around dogs. You don't even understand why people have dogs, but you end up getting one for some reason. You just have to have a dog. And it just, every time you look at it, it just stresses you out. This dog is causing you a lot of stress. You see how you would naturally be in more of a rules focused way of being with that dog. Cause you're not even trying to have a deep, emotional, like intimate relationship that, like, you know how dog owners, I mean, some dog owners are very close to they're very sweet with their dogs and they really feel like the dogs know them and all that. And if it is not possible for you to have that dog owner intimacy where you like the dog and the dog likes you and you guys are just clicking and gelling, if that's not possible, then you're going to go into box checking behavior. You're going to go into rules behavior. The dog has to follow these rules. He has to be in his crate at exactly this time. I will take him for a walk at exactly this time. And everyone in this relationship needs to check the boxes. that is exactly what trad guys do with their wives. Again, just like some people are not dog people, some people are not women people. But for whatever reason, they feel like, well, I don't know, like I want to have kids. I mean, I guess I want to, I don't know. For some reason, people have women in their lives. I don't get it either. But let's just put a lot of rules on them. Let's put a lot of rules on them to just see if we can make this as not miserable as possible. And so, and again, you see this in other areas outside of trad men putting gender roles, putting overly strict gender roles on women. You see it, well, the converse for women is, I think the female version of being a trad man is being a gold digger. That those women are, it's like objectifying men. Like, how much money do you make? And they're not interested in emotional intimacy with men. They're like, why don't you just pay for my lifestyle and we will live together? Women do this too. It just manifests itself differently. And you see the same thing, box checking behavior. It's like, my husband, he will go to work and he will make this amount of money. And somebody might say, oh, well, I think your husband really hates his job and he'd like to take a 6-month sabbatical to find himself. She'd be like, couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. That man is going to go, this is the boxes that he needs to check in this relationship. He needs to go have his 9 to 5 and make this amount of money so that I can spend it, because these are our box checking gender roles. So you see it in a lot of behavior. And I said earlier that I've done this too. When I first became Catholic, I definitely did a lot of this kind of overly strict rule following behavior. And I want to say again, it's not that I now don't think the rules exist or that they matter. I believe in them more than ever. I believe sin exists. I believe in objective right and wrong. But because I now understand a little bit more about God and having a relationship with God and all of that and other people, the rules, again, like being a dog owner, like the rules can kind of fade into the background. It is not the first and foremost thing in my mind when I go about my day trying to have a relationship with God. There's a little bit more intimacy there. There is more of a give and take. And when my mind pings that space of like, what about God? What does God think of this? What is God leading me to? It used to ping the space of rules. I think you could probably even see it on an MRI when someone would say, how do you feel as a Catholic today? Were you a good Catholic? Were you right with God today? Do you feel like you honored God? Do you feel like you honored your faith? If you looked at an MRI, I swear the part of my brain that used to light up was the checklist part of my brain. It's like, well, I said 22 minutes of morning prayers. I went to confession last week and I did this and I did this. That's all good. These are all good things. They're objectively good things. But first, my brain should have pinged the person of Jesus Christ. It should have been like this. I feel this intimacy, like, wow, the Lord is, oh my gosh, he's done so much for me and he's always guiding to me. Oh, he's always guiding me. There's so much goodness here. There's so much love here. And I hope that I've honored him today. I hope that I have been walking with him more intimately because he's so good to me. He's so good to me. That is the place on the MRI that should have lit up the love part of my brain. Again, the rules are there. They matter, but that should have been more in the background. You know what I think? Here's what I think. As it relates to this kind of box checking behavior and faith, I feel like every person of faith needs to have like a student exchange program where you go live with a Mexican Catholic grandmother. I think that could actually solve a lot of our problems. I think red-pilled men would stop their nonsense. Trad men would stop their nonsense because there's Mexican Catholic grandmothers could save the world. You mark my words. If we could just give them more influence in the world, because you see people who they do have this faith, this Catholic faith that involves rules and it involves certain ideas of right and wrong, but you see the way they live it out in a way that is love first. It's relationship first. And when you talk to them about how do you think you're living as a person of faith? The first thing they talk about is the person of Jesus. The Lord has been so good to me. Oh, you should have seen what the Lord did for me last week. Oh, I so hope that I'm honoring him because, the way he's blessed me is crazy. It's just amazing. You talk to an American Catholic about this and they're like, I prayed the Liturgy of the Hours 3 times today and then I talked about it on Twitter. It's like, I don't know. We have to shut down American Catholicism until we figure out what's going on. Like, we need to send everyone to go stay with the Mexican Catholic grandmother for a while. But to take it back to the trad men, the reason I bring it up is because we are dealing with, it's kind of like when it's high allergy season, when there's a lot of pollen in the air. There is a lot of sassy trad man hot takes in the air right now, and it's causing us to feel ill. Mm-hmm. It's not just the Catholics. I mean, it's the women aren't funny, red-pilled crowd are at it again too. And so I just wanted to lay out this topic for you guys so that next time these people add to your burdens and they make you feel less than as a woman and they make you feel like you're not measuring up to some standard. You just have to understand these guys don't know what they're talking about because they're just not that into women. I mean, women are just not their thing, and they're just kind of grasping at straws, trying to find ways so that they can figure out how to safely interact with this gender that is so terrifying to them. All right, and that's it for this fine episode. We don't know how this podcast is free. I mean, we're really exploring it. We're really going to look into this very deeply. Again, I continue to use my Patreon as a place to say all the things I can't say publicly. Patreon.com/thisisjen. And we will be back with you next week with another fine edition of the Jen Fulwiler Show.